Hey guys, today we are going to be working on a crochet pumpkin hat, and the things that you are going to need are you're going to need your yarn. Obviously you're going to for sure need orange and green. In my written pattern I just referenced the orange and green because the original crochet pumpkin hat that I made the stem green. You can definitely do that. I've also recently made another one where I made the stem brown. So if you want to do that, you can add that yarn as well. The green and the brown are really just small accent pieces on the hat. The green is finishing the top of the hat and the brown would be the stem. So it doesn't really matter which yarn you use for that. And for the orange, I really wanted a bright orange for this particular one. And the only one I could find like that at the moment was this one, Craft Smart Value. And you know what? It's really soft and it was an excellent price too. So that was a lucky find. You're going to need a 5mm crochet hook and your measuring tape just to double check your sizing depending on the yarn that you're using. If you would like a copy of my size chart, you can find that in the description below. If you're working on a toddler size hat, you won't need the measuring tape. This video tutorial is going to give you the exact stitch counts for a toddler size hat. And in the written pattern, the yarn that I referenced that I used was the Bernat Super Value yarn. Okay, so just in case you're wanting to follow that precisely, but this is also giving the accurate sizing as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay. So you're going to begin with your starting loop. You're just going to wrap the yarn around your finger, fold it over, pick up a little bit of that bottom piece and push some of the top bit through to make your loop, or however you like to make it. I always just like to do that for people that are absolute beginners stumbling upon my video tutorials. So we're going to start with a chain 25, and just for reference, in case you are working on a different size and you're following the size chart, we are working on the height of the hat right now. Okay, so just keep that in mind when you're making your starting chain. This is for the height of the hat. So we are going to chain 25. So you're going to yarn over your hook and pull it through the loop. Yarn over and pull it through. And you're just going to keep on going until you get to 25. So you can pause the video, do your 25 chains, and then come back. Okay, so now that you've finished your chain, we're going to work a double crochet in the second chain from the hook. So not this first one here, but the second. And you're going to yarn over your hook, push it right through the chain, yarn over, pull up a loop. You'll now have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, and pull through the next 2. So we're going to go ahead and work 1 double crochet into every single chain all the way down the row. Now, keeping track of your stitch count, remember that whatever starting chain you did, however many chains were in your starting chain, you're going to have 1 stitch less in your stitch count because we began working in the second chain from our hook. So go ahead and work your double crochets in every chain all the way down. Pause the video while you do that and then come back. So now that you've finished working all of your double crochets and you're at the end of your row, you're going to chain 2 and turn your work. Now we're going to work a front post double crochet all the way down. So you're going to yarn over, push your hook in the front of this post here and bring it around the back and out the other side. Okay, so it's like you're pushing the post to the front of your work. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the next 2. And we're going to do that again. And you're just going to keep on working your front post double crochets all the way down your row. So go ahead and pause your video, do that, and then come back. Okay, now when you get to the end of the row, you're probably going to realize that you're even 1 stitch less than what your stitch count was, which is already 1 less than your starting chain. And the reason for that is because this little guy back here, you don't want to forget about that last little stitch. And what we're going to do here is just work a regular double crochet into that last stitch at the end of your row. Okay, that'll maintain our straight edge and it'll make sure that we keep our stitch count consistent. So now we're going to chain 2 and turn our work. And now we're going to do back post double crochets. So yarn over, bring your hook around the back, push it in, put it over top of that post and around through the back. Yarn over, pull up your loop and finish your double crochet as usual. And you're just going to go ahead and work those back post double crochets all the way down. Oops, I dropped a loop there. All the way down your row. And at the end of this row, it's going to be the same thing. Oh, these back post ones could be a little tricky, especially when I'm trying to do it in slow motion too. When you get to the end of this row, you're going to have to finish off with a regular double crochet in that last stitch, like we did in the previous row before this one. All right, so you can pause your video, go ahead and do your back post double crochets all the way down and then come back. So now that you're at the end of that row, again, we want to make sure that we finish, as I mentioned, with our regular double crochet into our last stitch there. Okay, now we're going to chain 2 and turn our work. Now we're going to do one regular double crochet into every single stitch all the way down the row. And after we do our next little, our next step, after this, you're gonna really start to see the look of that pumpkin ribbing taking effect. I love this pattern, it's so cute. And the thing that's really fun about this is you could even turn it into a jack-o'-lantern with adding some accessories on it. Nice and black yarn, do a couple of triangles for the eyes and the nose, and have a little jack-o'-lantern hat. Okay, we're almost at the end here. All right, okay, so now we're going to chain 2 and turn our work. So I want to just talk to you about something for a quick second so you can understand the way this pattern works, because I'm going to go through this next step explaining it to you and then leave you to it while you work on the rows, and I'll show you how to come back and finish it off. So you can see here the way it kind of pops, right? But when you flip over your work, it's nice and flat. So this would be the inside of the hat, and we want to make sure that stays nice and flat, obviously for comfort, but also to give the look of our pumpkin on the outside. So when we started this project, we did our row of double crochet, and then we did front post, a row of front post double crochets, and then a row of back post double crochets, and then a row of regular double crochets. Now, and don't forget, this, what your starting chain was, is the height of the hat, right? Because the way that the pumpkin ribs go, we want to make sure that our hat is consistent with that. So right now, as we're building our hat, we're actually building the circumference of the hat. So this is what's going to wrap around the head, okay? So this is the sizing of the hat that has to fit around the head. So if you're working on a toddler size like me, you are going to work until you reach 42 rows in total of work. And if you want to double check that measurement to make sure, it would be 18 inches. Okay. If you are following the size chart because you're making a different size hat, you want to be looking at the circumference sizing for as you're building your rows. Okay, so that's just important to take note of. So now let's go ahead and move on to our next step here. So we've turned our work and we want to make sure that the ribbing is coming out this way. So we are going to consistently repeat rows of front post, back post, regular double crochet. But then we're not going to go front post, back post again. Now we're going to flip it because of the direction we're going. If we start working front post double crochets right now, this next set of ribbing is going to be on the inside of our hat. So that's where it does get a little bit tricky. So you want to pay attention to that, okay? Maybe have a little piece of paper beside you or something, or I'm sure you'll get to know it as you're looking at it. But remember, this first two row repeat, we did front post, back post, regular double crochets. So now we're going to flip it and do back post, front post. Okay? So you're going to do your back post, double crochets. I just want to show you so you know what to look for as you're going, because I'm going to leave you to it to get all your rows done, and then you'll come back and I'll show you how to finish it off. Okay, I just want to do a couple of them here to show you what I'm talking about. So do you see what's happening here? You can see the stitches popping out this way, right? And it's nice and flat on the back. So that's what you want, okay? So you're doing back post double crochets right now. And when you flip it, you're going to be doing front post double crochets. You're going to flip it, do your regular double crochets, okay? So just keep on going. If you get confused, just rewind this video back. Obviously, you can rewind it back as many times as you like to get the full explanation. And when you've done your rows, come back and I will show you how to finish off your pumpkin hat. Okay, so now that we have finished all of our rows, we are going to fold our work in half so that the inside of our hat is on the outside. We want it to be inside out right now. And you're going to line up your short edges here, and we're going to close a seam with slip stitches. So you're going to push your hook in and make sure you're getting it right through the other side as well. And you're just going to pull your yarn and you're just going to go ahead and do that all the way down, working your slip stitches to close that seam. So go ahead, pause the video, do that all the way down, and then come back. Okay, so now that you've finished closing that seam here, you're going to chain one, and then you're going to just work one single crochet all the way around in the spaces, spacing them out evenly. Okay, so once you finish doing that, doing your single crochets evenly all the way around, you're going to close with a slip stitch into your chain one space, chain one again, and you're just going to go ahead and do one more round of single crochets all the way around and then come back. So now that we're back here at the beginning again, you're going to close with a slip stitch in that chain one space and you're going to fasten it off. And then just pull the rest of that through. And then in that space where you just fastened off from, we're going to attach the green. Okay, so you're just going to attach your green yarn. And chain one. Now we're going to work a half double crochet in every stitch around. So you're going to yarn over your hook, put it through the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. You've got 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. Yarn over, go in the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through all 3. So you're just going to go ahead and work 1 half double crochet into every single stitch all the way around, and then come back. So now that you finished your round of half double crochets, you're going to close your round with a slip stitch and then chain 1. And now we're going to work half double crochet decreases all the way around, and we're going to do it for 2 rounds. And when you end each round, you want to close with a slip stitch and chain 1. So the way to do a half double crochet decrease is you're going to yarn over your hook, push it through the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, go in the very next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all your loops on your hook. So we've taken 2 stitches and turned them into 1. And you're just going to go ahead and do that all the way around. Close with a slip stitch and chain 1, and then do it again for another round. And then come back to that last slip stitch that you just finished off. You are going to fasten it off with a long tail, because we're going to have to use that to weave in and out to close the top of the hat. So now what you can do is just go around and weave that tail end in and out of every second or third stitch all the way around. I like to do every second stitch. Okay, and then you're just going to pull it like a drawstring, and then using your yarn needle, you're going to secure the top of the hat just by weaving it in and out to hold it closed. And for that last little one, maybe loop it through the loop to tie it off. Go ahead and cut that. And you'll use your yarn needle to hide your other tail ends as well. But I want to come down to the bottom here. Okay, and we are going to finish off and clean up this wiggly edge here. Okay, so you're going to grab your orange yarn. And we're going to reattach the orange yarn where the seam is at the bottom of our hat. Okay. Still working with it inside out. Just pull that right through. Chain 1. And we're going to half double crochet evenly all the way around. So just go ahead and work those half double crochets evenly all the way around, and then come back. Okay, and now you're going to close it with a slip stitch into your chain 1 space, chain 1, and do one more round of half double crochet into every stitch all the way around. You're going to close with a slip stitch and then come back. And now that you're back to the beginning and you've closed with your slip stitch, you're just going to fasten it off. You're going to use your yarn needle to hide all those tail ends. And we are just going to do our finishing. So you will use a yarn needle to hide all your tail ends the way that I've shown you to hide that other one there. Okay, there's your cute little pumpkin hat. And we're going to just finish it off with our little stem and then we'll be done. So for the stem, you're just going to get still your green or brown, whatever you choose. Make a little starting loop, just like we did with all the other colors. And we're going to chain 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to half double crochet in the second chain from the hook and in each chain down the row. So we're just going to get into that last little chain there. So that will give you 7 because we started in the second chain from the hook. And just turning your work, we're going to go back down the other side of the chain and just go all the way down that other side of the chain there till we are back, oops, at the start. And you can just close it with a slip stitch into that very first stitch that you did. Okay. Fasten it off. I like to do a little bit of a longer tail because we've got like at the 2 little ends here, right? So what I do right now is I get my yarn needle. And then I just weave it, my tail end, in and out. And it just makes, I do it in the stitches at both sides. And I just weave it in and out all the way down. And it just gives the stem a little bit more of a stem-like shape. And I get right down to the bottom here. And that way I've got both of my little tail ends here. It has a little bit more of a stem-like shape, right? Like an actual pumpkin. Isn't that cute? It's kind of like a little bit crooked, little bit. And I feel like that's just how a pumpkin stem would be. And then you're going to grab your hook and find the top of the hat where you want the stem to go. And use that to pull the tail ends in. And you're just going to tie the tail ends on the inside of the hat and use your yarn needle to sew them and hide them in and secure it. And there is your little crochet pumpkin hat.